we're not sure, but we've got a reasonably fine sunny morning here, and fair amount of cloud cover. Probably the sun is currently sort of shining in a wan sort of way, but we're probably talking 60-40 clouds over blue sky. In fact, more than that really. It's about 75-25, but no great interruption to play, if any, is anticipated. Nor tomorrow. Wednesday's another matter. If it does go into fourth day, we might be struggling a little bit. But Steve Patterson, the captain, is making his way down to the Hayes close end. Looks as if he's going to bowl the first over of the day, and Tom Wesley to face. 122 for 3 on the board, and Jonathan will do his piece for the various Yorkshire stations. Myself for BBC Essex. That'll be coming up in just a few moments' time. Patterson will bowl initially to Wesley, who stands bat raised, 2 slips a gully. First ball of the day, a leave outside off stump and through to the wicket keeper. So 122 for 3, and Essex, very interesting first day, it has to be said, with a mountain of runs coming at breakneck pace for Yorkshire until they were all out for 208 in just 49.3 overs. Essex have batted more reservedly as Patterson's in and bowls to Wesley, and Wesley off something of a leading edge plays it out to Live in the covers, beg your pardon, Balance in the covers, and there is no run. 122 for 3. Live is standing second slip alongside Tom Kohler-Cadmore, who's caught a bucket load of catches in slips in all forms of the game this season. 122 for 3 remains the score after 2 deliveries. Of course, one of the reasons why Essex's batting tempo has been slower is that Yorkshire have bowled much more tightly than Essex did yesterday. As here is Balance again fielding in the covers, as this time from the middle of the bat Wesley drives the ball out extra cover region. 122 for 3 still, and it's very close. Looking at the overall picture of the game, you'd probably rather be in Essex's position, in that with 7 wickets left they have the possibility of getting a useful first innings lead. On the other hand, particularly with Bopara unavailable, the batting has a brittle look about it, if I'm honest, as here is the next delivery, and Wesley plays it to backward point. There's no run there. For instance, Ryan Tenduscarter, a marvellous player, but just isn't on a good run of form at the moment. Then we've got Adam Wheater and Simon Harmer, both very capable of useful 30s and 40s, but neither in the very best of form with the bat just at the moment. And then Peter Siddle, who has made several very useful contributions at 9, and then Beard and Porter 10 and 11. Here comes Patterson again. Hayes close end, bit of sunshine around, lovely drive here from Wesley, but there won't be a run as it's cut off at mid-off, and still the score remains at the overnight 122 for 3, but that was the first, what we might call shot in anger, shot of conviction of the morning. It was very nicely played by Wesley, but easily cut off by Duane Olivier at deep mid-off. And the field is absolutely standard for nowadays, really. The only slight adjustment is there's only 2 slips in the gully, whereas if the innings had started this morning we'd have 3 slips in the gully. Here's Patterson completing the first over. It's driven back, it hits the stumps at the bowler's end, and ricochets without an overthrow or a bonus run being taken. So a maiden over to start with, typically steady over from Steve Patterson. 122 for 3 remains a score. I'll just do my update into the 11 o'clock BBC Essex News, and then we'll welcome Jonathan Doidge to the microphone, and just waiting to see. I think it's going to be Ben Code to bowl the first over from the river end this morning. He's discarded his cap and is making his way over now. We'll be going into the news at any moment. Wesley has played out a maiden and remains on his overnight 52. No real incident to talk about from that first over. The ball didn't do anything untoward, and Wesley only attempted the one aggressive shot. A good tight over from Patterson, not an easy man to score from. So Rishi Patel, who batted out pretty much the final hour yesterday, just picked up 10 runs in that. Again, there's 2 slips in a gully. Here we go into the news. Dot ball, first ball of the over, a lead outside off stump. And just waiting to... here we go. Very good morning, Lucy. We've just had a maiden over plus 1 ball of the second over of the day's 96 here. Essex resuming on 122 for 3. Wesley remains 52 not out, and with him Rishi Patel 10 not out. Patel playing because Ravi Bopara has picked up a bug and was too ill to play yesterday. He's expected to make a full recovery in time for Saturday's game here against Warwickshire, as another dot ball goes through outside off stump. Overall match position is that Essex are 86 runs behind Yorkshire's 208 all out. It's a pretty tight game, very important between the second and third place sides chasing Somerset. To bowl his third ball of the morning, which is driven down to mid-off. There's no run there, and a warm welcome to Jonathan Deutsch.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Good morning, everybody. Lovely sunny morning at the moment, but I heard you saying that the cloud cover likely to win the day, if you like. But I don't think there's any threat of any rain, so should get a full day's play in. I wonder where we'll be come another 94 or so overs time.
Yeah, it's a fascinatingly set up match as Cody's in. River End bowls, very correctly forward comes Rishi Patel, and plays it back to the bowler. Apologies if you're picking up voices off. Oh, marvellous, they heard me. And we're back now to glorious peace here in our headphones. 122 for 3.
You never quite know if they have heard you or if it's just pure coincidence or fluke, isn't it, that they cut the cue at that moment.
I suspect the latter on this occasion, but if not, well then I'm very grateful as here is Code in. Bowls, and that ball goes through outside off stump to Jonathan Tattersall, and the score unmoved from the overnight, 122 for 3.
And already the last 3 balls here, 2 from Ben Code, have looked like they're on the low side, and that one carried pretty well through to Johnny Tattersall's gloves, all pitched in reasonably similar areas.
Chelmsford typically keeps low, but you do get the odd delivery that will suddenly shoot up. And Code is in. Bowls again to Patel. That's an off cutter. It's deflected down to long leg for the first run of the morning, to the credit of Rishi Patel, who moves along to 11. 123 for 3. The end of the Code over. Nearly a maiden. And Essex are now 85 behind.
Managed to catch up on a bit of sleep.
Well done, yes.
Last night, which was good. Much needed after what had been going on the day before. The Yorkshire lads just had a chat with one or two of them last night back at the hotel, where they're all batted on it, of course. I think they felt still that even though it wasn't a bad performance, they were probably about 40 short of where they would have called it a pretty decent day. So not a bad day, could have been a bit better.
Yeah, I think Essex would say the same, as here is Patterson bowls, and Patel plays down to mid-on. Yes, Essex would feel, and this was confirmed by head coach Anthony McGrath, a Yorkshireman himself, saying afterwards that, yes, Essex did bowl a lot of 4 balls in the morning session.
Getting tweets through saying radio silence or no sound on the commentary at the moment.
Yes,
back now, says Sean, thank you.
Right, thank you for that. Always good to have updates, and similarly, I'll just take this ball next. Patterson bowls, and not out of the middle of the bat, but Patel's going to go and run past the diving mid-wicket. Kesh Maharaj couldn't quite rein it in. It's backed up by mid-on, and the score has moved up to 124 for 3, and there are now 12 to Patel. And similarly, Essex callers, essex.cricket at bbc.co.uk. Just let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear, if you would.
Yeah, at Jonathan Deutsch for the tweets or at WIS Daily, and obviously as well BBC West Yorkshire Sport at gmail.com for your emails. Doesn't matter which team you support.
Patterson in a little bit of sunshine, bowls to Wesley. Wesley plays it back past the bowler, who could have fielded it but wasn't too bothered. He knew that there were two good men behind him backing up, they being Olivier and Fisher, and it's 124 for 3.
Nice to see the President, Jeff Copen, and his First Lady, with Jeff's guide dog out the back of the stand. As I was walking, just took a lap of the concourse to get in a bit of exercise. Jeff said he went in the dressing room last week after the Scarborough win. I'll tell you more in a moment.
Patterson bowls to Wesley. Wesley back to Patterson.
And he said, because it was such a great game of cricket, it lasted a full 4 days, finished with 10 balls to spare. And of course, as with those results, when you're on the winning side, I always feel that bit more, special. And he said, it's my policy not to go in the dressing room and interfere. Not really the done thing, but I went in afterwards and just congratulated the lads and said, this is one not just for now or this season, this is one you'll talk about in 20, 30, 40 years' time.
Yep, quite right, particularly against the reigning champions, as this ball is driven very pleasantly by Wesley, but straight to extra cover, and there will be no run. Will Frayne does the fielding there, and score remaining at 124 for 3, 52 to Wesley, who hasn't added to his overnight as yet, and Patel, who has, and has got 2 singles. So a quiet start to the morning, in sharp contrast to yesterday when Yorkshire raced off and Will Frayne was hitting boundary after boundary in the early overs, as Patterson comes in again. Past umpire Paul Pollard, ex-Nottinghamshire. Wesley comes down on a straight ball, steers it out to Gary Balance in the covers, and that ends another very tight over from Patterson, just the 1 run from it to Patel, who has 12, Wesley 52, and Essex are 84 behind at 124 for 3.
You can catch the streaming, of course. If you aren't watching the pictures but just taking the radio commentary, you can access pictures as well. www.yorkshirecc.com/match-centre is one way of doing that. Should be able to look back on previous wickets, things like that they've missed as well.
Going to be Ben Code to continue. Still the sun shines, and he's in from the river end to bowl to Rishi Patel. Stands bat raised, and this goes completely past the outside edge. That had the beating of Patel there. Doesn't take the edge. Goes through to Johnson Tattersall. We've heard from Tim Hardwick. Thank you very much, Tim. Just to say loud and clear now, you were silent for the first 5 minutes, so thank you very much for that. We've no idea actually why that would be, but thank you very much for updating us on that.
Possibly somebody back in the studio forgot to hook up the stream.
Well, it would seem so, yeah. Normally they're very much on the ball, and they said it was going through okay, but anyway, we appear to go into the news all right. This next ball is played out into the covers. There's a nice shot actually from Patel, but no run again. Balance fields 124 for 3.
Good news as well for Yorkshire this morning, of course, the news that David Willey has extended his contract for 3 further years, and I think Yorkshire, in doing that, expect to see him playing more in the 4-day game than has been the case up to press.
That'll be good, as here is Code in bowls, and not a very convincing shot here. It was a half volley on off stump. It's ended up at long leg. I rather fancy that Patel was looking to play that far straighter than the direction in which the ball departed, but Olivier fields it at long leg, and Patel, who scored all the runs added this morning, 3 singles, is on 13. The score to 125 for 3.
Will Frayne just been dispatched out to the mid-wicket boundary.
Very tight game, and Yorkshire, they want wickets, but they also want to make sure that as few runs are scored as possible, as Code comes in to bowl this time to Tom Wesley. Wesley turns it off Midland leg to Harry Brook at mid-wicket, and there's no run, 125 for 3.
Yeah, just protecting the boundary. The mid-wicket boundary's got a long leg, hasn't it, as well, but everybody else really sort of in the ring. The point, looking out to see who that is at point at the moment.
Tell you something strange going on. The scoreboard to our left is completely blank. as don't know why. Here's code in bowls, and that goes through outside off stump. It almost makes you wonder if, bearing in mind people weren't hearing us for 5 minutes, whether there's some sort of electrical jinx at Chelmsford this morning, because certainly the main scoreboard has got nothing on it at all at the moment, apart from a blank blackboard, whereas the rather slow scoreboard away to our right is working in its normal way. And 125 for 3 is correct up on that board as code is in bowls, and the ball is played back to the bowler. I rather think that the Essex scorer Tony Choate, who also makes the announcements, he has made a couple of announcements at the end of the previous 2 overs, and while we're talking we can't hear what he says, but probably that's the subject, explaining to the public why the scoreboard isn't working, and probably will they be patient, they'll try and sort it out.
Lily, good morning. She says Yorkshire need quick wickets this morning. Steve Patterson's bowling a good line and length as always. Happy that David Willey's extended his contract and enjoying the commentary.
Thank you very much, Lily. And just as we were saying, Tony Choate is basically announcing to the crowd who may not have a view of the scoreboard that is working, what the score is at the end of each over. So clearly there is a fault problem that they're trying to sort out with the scoreboard. And meanwhile, the aforesaid Mr. Reliable, Steve Patterson, will continue from the Hayes Close end. He's just conceded 1 single from his first 2 overs, and that was off the very last ball of the second of them. 125 for 3. Patterson in. Bowls to Patel, who leaves the ball just in that corridor of uncertainty, but a positive lead from Patel, who remains on 13, and Essex 125 for 3.
Do they not have much in the way of a bus infrastructure down here?
From what point of view?
Well, I've just been looking for a bus to get out of town back up to the hotel, and the last one that departs Chelmsford bus station that goes anywhere near where we're staying leaves at 8 o'clock tonight. What's all that about?
You better catch it then. Here is Patterson in bowls. That's outside off stump and no run there. Yes, it does seem...
do they clock off that early?
Rather early for the last bus. But there we are. I think in all the papers recently, I believe you're staying fairly rurally, and rural services are being pretty hard hit. The problem is, if people don't use services, you can't totally blame bus companies for not running the buses, and I see so many buses going by with about 1 person on it, and he's usually the driver. Here is Patterson. Bowles, nice drive here, but not so nice that it'll go for any runs from Patel as it's fielded at mid-off, and the score remains 125 for 3.
We got back to the hotel last night, went for a walk out to see where we could find somewhere to eat, and probably walked about a mile. One pub that some of the lads had been in for some food on Saturday night had already told them that they didn't serve food on Sunday evening, so we tried the other one and turned up and it was just nobody in. Closed at 6 p.m.
Patterson bowls, and Patel plays it down to deep mid-on. There's no run, so you've had a terrible time there.
So we had a sort of 45-50 minute round trip of a walk for nothing, and ended up back in the hotel, where the restaurant in the hotel, which says when you walk into the reception, if you wish to eat in the restaurant, please ensure you book a table as it gets busy. They didn't. There was nobody in there, nobody serving on, and it was closed because they had no bookings.
Well, there we are then, as Patterson's in bowls, and Patel plays it to mid-wicket. Yes, this is, I think, one of the drawbacks. If, as you do, you stay at places where the team goes, because teams tend to stay, in places where they've got swimming pools and stuff like that. So that wouldn't interest me as a non-swimmer, and Dick and I are always very pleased to sort of book our own accommodation. We know certain places where we can guarantee there are a good eateries close by. Patterson's in and bowls to Patel. Now this ball, they're going to take a single, not particularly convincing shot from Patel, perfectly safe, let me add, but it went off the outside part of the bat, bit of a suspicion of an edge out in the direction of point, and backward point goes round to do the fielding, Will Frayne. So all 4 runs scored in 5 overs bowled this morning. Very quiet start to play. Have gone to Patel in singles. He's on 14. Wesley unmoved from his overnight 52, and Essex at 126 for 3 are 82 behind.
Yeah, Yorkshire will be happy enough that although they haven't taken a wicket, that things are moving slowly. They're bowling tight, and at the moment the batsmen are going to have to take chances to score runs or to improve the scoring rate. They're probably not too bothered either, because there's been no alarms, no major alarms from where they're concerned. So in the end we had to go back into the sort of bar to get the bar meal menu.
As Code begins a new over, appeal for LBW might just have been an inside edge on its way into pad, and Patel is the man on strike, no run.
And the very limited choice on there was one of the players received food that was more or less rock hard, but didn't have the heart to tell the staff that he wasn't happy with it. So another player on his behalf went to the bar and said, "Excuse me, my mate's go."
yeah, not good. As Code is in, bowls to Patel and goes through outside off stump. So this was at the place the team's staying, is it? Yeah.
I think with the place, the room's very nice, and the place is fine, but you seem to need to sort of send out a search party to find a member of staff.
Yeah.
I think there are about 4 people work there.
Yes, I mean, must admit I don't normally get a meal at the hotel I'm staying at, but I did the other night because I had quite a good lunch at Trent Bridge, as you do, and that was rather poor, if I'm honest. As here is Code in and bowls to Patel, who again can leave a ball outside off stump, and the score remaining 126 for 3, 82 behind.
It felt like you walk into the bar and somebody was going to sort of speak back to you saying, "Food order? This is a local hotel for local people."
Yes. Got 1 or 2 more emails coming in, and get to them after this next delivery, to be bowled by Ben Code, River End, with Essex 126 for 3. A very, very quiet start to the day's play in contrast to yesterday, and it'll go on that way, as that's another one that the batsman leaves outside off stump. The Grumbler, morning Grumbler, says, "Morning chaps, I'm on the ground this morning, and what a lovely busy scene it is. Ray Tom Wesley, his career trajectory has been downward ever since he got in the England team a few seasons ago. This happens quite a lot for some reason. It would be lovely to see him get his first century of the season today, after putting to bed the Kent speculation and signing a new contract. He's signed a 2-year extension here at Essex. Code comes back in, bowls again to Patel, back to the bowler, forward defensive shot, and the Grumbler finishes off. No one wants him to become a middling county player when he has the talent to be much more. The rest of this season feels like a crossroads for him. Regards, the Grumbler." Yeah, to be fair to Tom Wesley, he's invariably looked in pretty good form this season, but just hasn't gone on to make the big score that I know he would like to get. He did, however, get his season's best 77 up at Headingley, and he's 25 short of that at the moment. He's at the non-striker's end because Patel makes the next ball with the same dead bat, back to the bowler, another over ends, 126 for 3, 6 overs gone this morning, only 4 singles added.
Yeah, so slow and steady progress, but given the pitch, I think it's a good effort from the 2 Essex batsmen out there. Wouldn't want to have gone out and played a rash shot or 2 and lost those couple of early wickets to let Yorkshire into the game. And I know Yorkshire wanted to try and take a couple of earlies to just put some pressure on and try and flip that pressure situation out there. There's still a fair few runs to play with, but there are still 7 wickets to get as well if they are hopeful stroke serious about getting a first innings lead. Don't think they'll be too bothered if they're a little bit behind, but they wouldn't want to be more than sort of 30, 40. If it was an 80 lead here, you'd feel that's a pretty tough call.
Indeed. Patterson's in, begins the 7th over of the day. A very decent delivery that got up sharply in contrast to most of the deliveries today. Wesley did exceptionally well to spot it and make sure he got right over it, played it straight to ground. 126 for 3. Now Paul Smith is concerned about your misfortunes with the bus, and he says try this website for bus times, travelline.info. Travelline, traveline.info. Good luck, Paul from Great Knockley.
Thanks, Paul. I'll have a look.
Next delivery, nice shot but no run. Wesley drives firmly down to Olivier at mid-off, and that's one of the idiosyncrasies of cricket. Some of the best shots produce no runs, and some of the flukiest and luckiest shots zoom off to the boundary, having shot through the slipped cordon. So no runs still. A word from Stephen Hall, I think it's probably, yes, he says, commentary came through on the BBC Sport app at 11:08 and is now loud and clear. Do you know why the feed so frequently starts late? I must admit I don't, actually. Here's the next delivery, and this ball keeps a bit low, well kept out by Wesley, back to the bowler. Stephen finishes off. Surely the technical people know what time the match is due to start. They do indeed, and it may be nothing to do with them that we got apparently the first 5 minutes missed off this morning. Thankfully they were an uneventful 5 minutes. And Stephen Green comes through at work in Norfolk. He says, morning guys, again enjoying the commentary and live pictures. Essex playing with great patience so far. If they keep the same mindset as they did against Notts and bat all day and a bit more, as the next ball is played into the covers, Gary Balance feels there's no run. He says that if they keep that patience going, Essex could have a nice lead. Thank you, Steve Green. Yes, every word you say there is true and accurate, and at the moment, just 4 runs have come. We're in the 7th over of the morning. Wesley hasn't moved from his overnight 52, and Rishi Patel has got 4 singles and is on 14. 126 for 3.
Sifting through the bus times here.
Wesley's in. Bowles and sorry, I should have said Patterson's in and bowls, and Wesley plays it to Gary Balance. There's no run. Still 126 for 3, so runs hard to come by, but I think the Essex chat in the dressing room, I know Anthony McGrath said to me on interview, the Essex head coach, a Yorkshireman himself, last night, that first innings lead was vital. He said it at Trentbridge. I spoke to him there, and he said this is all going to be about first innings lead, and Essex duly got one, a big one, and he's obviously hoping that they can do the same here. Wesley, a shade edgily, plays it out to backward point. There's no run as Harry Brookfields, and another maiden over. 126 for 3.
Oh, I found a later possibility than 8 o'clock. 8:53. Chelmsford bus station, train station, train to Ingatstone, 6 minutes. Get off there, 7-minute walk, and then back on the 351 bus, which drops outside the Black Bull, Margaretting.
Well, there we are then.
At 9:23. Is it worth it?
Depends, you know, what you're going to do in the meantime in Chelmsford, but hopefully get
an extra
a better
53
meal.
minutes in Chelmsford.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be Ben Code to continue from the river end. 8th over of the morning, only 4 singles in the first 7 overs, but here's progress for Essex. 4 runs to the mid-wicket boundary as Code, perhaps for the first time really this morning, straight onto leg stump, and a sort of leg stump half volley. Patel lost no time in gliding the ball off his pads to the boundary stone in front of the pavilion. 130 for 3, and still Patel has all the runs that have been scored this morning. He's moved on to 18.
And Richard Vaughan, good morning to you. He's tweeted, "Hi Jonathan, if you can travel slightly further, about 20-30 minutes by bus, 10 minutes by cab, then I recommend the Lion Inn in Boreham. Last bus is back to Chelmsford 21:16 and 22:05. That would mean though that I would get no further connection back to the hotel, which would be another 25 quid in the taxi."
But thank you all the same.
Well, thanks, Richard.
Good that people are working on your behalf as Patel plays the ball back to Code, and you'll gather there's no run. 130 for 3. Essex are currently 78 runs behind, and look to be intent if this pair are anything to go by on just waiting for the right ball. And let's be fair as well, Yorkshire are not an easy side to score from. They've a good bowling attack based on good line and length bowling. Code again. 2 slips in a gully and also short mid-wicket. Bowles and Patel, all defence here, plays it back just past the bowler and fielded by Keshma Haraj at deepish mid-on, 130 for 3.
When you look at this and you look at those old records from years ago, Yorkshire made 555 for 1 declared at Leighton in 1932.
Yes, fall of first wicket, 555. Famous scoreboard. What was it, Sutcliffe and...
Percy Holmes.
Sutcliffe and Holmes, of course, yeah.
Sutcliffe a triple century.
Code again. Bowles and more runs here for Patel. Just be the single. Olivier on the long leg boundary. Clipped a ball off the pads as Kodu's been a model of good line and length bowling. Has twice now in this over just strayed onto leg stump. Patel has helped himself. He's moved on to 19, 131 for 3.
It makes Essex's highest partnership against Yorkshire 246 for the second wicket by John Stevenson and Paul Pritchard at Colchester in 1991. Looked like a nice little cameo, doesn't it?
That's what it was. Yes, I was there. But of course things have rather changed. We talked about Titch Freeman yesterday taking 304 wickets in a season. Wesley's off the mark for the day. Flips another ball that was fading onto leg stump from Code. Hasn't quite got his line right in this over. And Wesley with a single moves on to 53 and the score to 132 for 3.
304 wickets in a season.
Yeah.
Did they play through the night as well?
Well, it's a fair question. There were 32 games to achieve that, but he's still averaging nearly 10 wickets a game. Used to play for Kent, spin bowler, and, well, phenomenal achievement. Here is Code again. Bowles, and nicely defended by Patel into the covers. There's no run there, 132 for 3, and I think it's time for one of the true highlights of the day here as I summon Dick Davis from the rear quarters to come and take over from me and join Jonathan Deutsch.
Wake up, Dick. I think he's just being roused from the slumber. So it's going to be Steve Patterson to continue from the Hayes close end. Sweater comes off, hands it to Paul Pollard, who's standing at that end of the ground. They're at mid-on, mid-off, mid-wicket. Ben Code at a deep backward square leg, 2 slips in place. Harry Brook is at a sort of fly gully really. Gary Ballance in a catching position at short extra cover as Patterson puts the ball outside off stump, and Wesley is happy to shoulder arms. Will Frayne is in a more regulation cover position on the 1. Dwan Olivier is the man at mid-off. Good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Jonathan. Good morning, listeners. Lovely day again at Chelmsford. We say that every time we come here. We're not always telling the truth, but we say it every day.
In the words of that Earth, Wind and Fire song, never a cloudy day.
That's right.
Although it's not September, it is very firmly July as Patterson's next ball sees Wesley shoulder arms again. And no run. Possibly not quite as many in as yesterday morning, but still it's a pretty reasonable crowd.
Well, that's understandable, isn't it? It's a working day, and yeah, but I think for a working day it's still very good. Very good indeed.
The top tier away to our right, the members, plenty of them in. As Patterson commences his run once again, the slips crouch in anticipation, but they're getting nothing out of this delivery because the bowler has his delivery pushed into the offside there by Wesley, and again no run. So at Jonathan Deutsch at BBC Essex Sport.
Essex.cricket at bbc.co.uk
and BBC West Yorkshire Sport at gmail.com are your points of contact. Do get in touch if you're in the ground. Give us a wave, tell us where you're listening from, or wherever you are. Give us a shout and tell us where you're listening from. What are your thoughts on what might unfold here today? Patterson in again to Wesley, who opens the face, and he's going to pick up 4 here. He got it away wide of slip, not 100% control, but I think I'd give him credit for about 90% of that. Patterson maybe just a little bit short on that occasion, really. Roundabout off stump. Ben Code, hands on hips. Out there, backward square leg, thinking about what he's just seen and what's happening out there. The score then moves on to 136.43. Wesley, it's the first boundary of the morning for him. Been out there for a good half hour now. And this next delivery is whipped to Maharaj, who's out there at mid-wicket, no run. Much more work for Kesh Maharaj to do today, you feel, as well. We're into the 53rd over of this innings, so already thoughts starting to turn towards new ball territory, which will come, early afternoon.
Yes.
But Yorkshire will want to do a fair bit more damage with this ball. Well, they've got the opportunity. Patterson, Yorkshire's captain, in again. Driven, nicely driven as well, down to mid-off by Wesley, who nearly gets in a bit of a tangle with Patel as they have a yes-no, wait, go on then. A bit of a going on, and he gets through for a single. Could have been costly. Nearly crash bang while one of them hit the floor there.
It was a bit of a comedy of errors, really, because the two fielders, long on and long off, almost ran into each other, and as a result of which the ball went astray for a little while, long enough to accommodate the taking of a single, and the two batsmen nearly ran into each other as well, so it was a bit of Keystone Cop stuff there. But all four players survived the incident.
Drives, Cody gets a hand on that in his follow through. He's ringing it now, so it must have been well timed by Wesley. Looked as though it was boundary bound had the bowler not intervened. Patterson helped him sweep up the ball that ran loose, so they prevented 4 there between them, but certainly appears to have hurt Ben Code.
And the question master came up to me afterwards and he said, if you'd got one more question right, you'd have probably won the tie-break question, he said, because my tie-break question was how many runs have England scored in the World Cup so far.
Code in. and Wesley back up the pitch, and there is no run.
I guessed 3,800, and apparently it was round about that. I can't remember exactly. He said, yeah, that's not bad. He said you'd have probably won. Oh, so we could have gone off with all this load of free beer past its sell-by date, which is usually the prize for winning.
So you missed out then?
Missed out by one question. Then, of course, the trouble is, by losing a quiz by one question, then you have the inquest afterwards. Well, if you would listen to me, I said such and such, and I said such and such. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm a regular member of a quiz team, and you do get that, don't you?
Oh, yes.
I said it, somebody who's very confident that you're wrong will say, no, it's not that, and you have a hunch, and you think, I think it's this, and they go, no, it's not, it can't be that. And you go, I think it is. But you're not confident enough to say, get it written down. Patterson in, and Patel shoulders arms, no run. So you don't sort of take control of that situation and say, give me the pen, I'm writing it down.
No, that's right.
So they then put down what they think, and then come the answers, it was, you were right, and you've lost, like you say, by a question or maybe two.
Oh. Still good fun, though. Well, after a long day here, and then almost a quick bite to eat at home, and then straight to the quiz. God, I slept well last night. 9 hours without stirring, 11:30 till 8:30.
Patterson in, and Patel just runs that one down to Frayne, who's now swapped with Harry Brook and come to that slightly backward of point position. No run.
Essex.cricket at bbc.co.uk. We had a flurry early on, but no more. Usually we oh yes, they have. I've just pressed refresh, and up they come. Beg your pardon. Oh, sound gone again on Essex TV, it says.
Here's Patterson, and again solid blocked a delivery of good length, around about off stump by Patel. Balance fields, fires it into the gloves of Tattersall and gets it back.
Thanks, Colin in Great Wakering, for emailing saying the sound gone again on Essex TV. What was the timing of that? 11:37, only a few minutes ago. Great Wakering, for years and years and years, the driest place in the country. I don't mean it hasn't got any pubs, it's got several, and very good ones too, but yeah, it's a very dry area.
Patterson in again, and once more, another solid block from Rishi Patel. So let's have a look elsewhere. Somerset 326, of course, Notts 35 for 1. Hants made that 539. Warwickshire 218 for 3. And Surrey 271 for 9 declared against Kent, who are yet to bat. Some Division 2 to come in a moment as well. As Patterson makes his way in then. And Patel turns this to leg, where Maharaj will field, but they'll get through for a single. So 138 for 3 takes Maharaj on to 20. Those second division scores: Worcester 113 all out in response to Derby's 108. Sounds like a cracking deck there. 48 for 2 Derby in their second innings. Middlesex 172, Gloucester 80 for 2 now. Northants 351 for 7 versus Lancs. And Leicester having shot out Durham for 117 or 146 for 5, as Patterson's in again to Wesley, who turns it to leg past a little attempt at fielding by Harry Brook. Fisher cleans up, and that's the end of the over then. 55 gone, 138 for 3.
Thanks, Dave, for your email. He says, further to the question as to whether there was an electricity glitch this morning, that was apropos of the fact that the main scoreboard wasn't, and indeed still isn't, working. He says,
The current
imply, and famous for a very good agricultural college, Writtle. Know quite a few people who went there.
So Fisher then in for his first ball of the day, right arm over the wicket to Patel. It's a little bit of kick off the pitch. It's played up to Code at mid-on, no run. Matthew Fisher, 6'2", has a variety of nicknames. Fish being one, surprise, surprise. Nemo being another, and Pup, I suppose the youngest in the team, went to Easing World School. Has of course been a part of the England Lions setup as well. In he comes then, just short of a length and worked off the hip by Wesley, down to long leg where Olivier fields. They get through for one more, taking him on to 139 for 3, 59 to Wesley. Lily.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, most nicknames of cricketers are remarkably unimaginative, it seems to me, and some of the nicknames are longer than the original names. Usually it just involves adding the syllable E to the end of it.
Of course.
You know, I mean, cookie, why add one syllable to it?
Fisher in again, is wide of off stump and goes further away past the shouldering-armed Wesley.
I think my favourite nickname that I've heard of was a chap who played for only maybe a season or two for Warwickshire called Zondeki, and his nickname was All Hands. And I thought that was just because that showed some intellect to think of that, all hands on decky. Bit more imaginative than just adding another E onto it, Zondeki E.
So in comes Nemo then to Wesley, who plays top of the bounce into the leg side for Enfield, no run. So Lily's email says she'd bring on Kesh Maharaj and thinks he'll get through a lot of overs today, and asks how did Duan Olivier bowl yesterday. Thought he bowled well, certainly to start with. I think maybe sort of guilty of straying slightly line-wise the longer he went on, but I thought he bowled pretty well. Certainly the first 3 overs he was asking questions of a batsman who was well set, in particular in Wesley, and might have nicked him off on a couple of occasions. Fisher in, and there is Wesley, top of the bounce, playing out into the offside where Balance fields. Jeff, good morning to you. He's also mailed in, bbcwestyorkshiresport@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us. He says, hi there, I'm surprised that with the 50 overs gone we haven't seen our new spinner on. The pitch and the ball don't seem to be posing any problems for the batsman. Very good that Fisher's playing, and also a welcome return for Brook, who's probably much better suited to the number 5 position rather than being shoehorned into being an opener. I think he's more comfortable there, Jeff, as Fisher is in again, and that one didn't kick as much as any of the other ones had done in the over. Wasn't that far away from the top of off stump Wesley shouldered arms. So again, evidence that this Chelmsford pitch, if anything, remains on the low side.
Neil emails. Thanks, Neil, for your email from Chelmsford, I think, which I infer from the phone number at the bottom of it. Although no, the next bit of it does suggest that he lives in and around Chelmsford. He says, listening to the commentary, as ever, great job. Questions for your stats man. Well, we don't really have a stats man. Our stats man is
Us.
yeah, well, yeah, but no, of our trio or quartet of commentators, our stats man is Nick, and he's not here today. He's doing his proper job. And well, I don't think even he would know this, but anyway, the question, never mind Joss Butler, my son, this is what Neil says, played in an under-11 indoor league match for Chelmsford in the Essex indoor school. He and his partner scored 41 runs off the last over. Is this a world record? Wisden and Guinness books, Wisden and Guinness records.
Here's Olivier then into the attack for the first time today for Yorkshire from the Hayes close end.
Wisden and Guinness records are looking into it. Could you advise? Well, we can't know. I've no idea, and I don't expect Paul has, and I don't expect Jonathan has. But it certainly sounds quite impressive. Did it win the game, though? Did it win the game? And so 41 off the last over. That takes some doing.
First ball was a dot. In he comes again then. Duan Olivier short. He's got an opportunity there, but the ball has flown straight over the outstretched arms of Harry Brook and rattled into the boundary boards for 4 off the bat of Rishi Patel, yeah. I was going to say Prasad then for a minute. And Rishi loves his cricket, I know that much, because I sometimes work with him doing racing stuff. Big West Indies fan, but I can assure you he's not battling for Essex at the moment.
No.
So good delivery from Olivier. Got what he was threatening to get last night, the edge, but it was travelling quickly, and just reaction time really was the key. Even if Harry Brook was tall enough to have reached it, wasn't far beyond his reach. One of those tantalising ones, but couldn't get a hand on it. Next ball's a dot. Lyth and Brook having a chat now. Adam Lyth at second slip, just wandered across. Maybe telling Brookie that if he'd have been there, he'd have caught it. Adam Lyth been a few inches shorter, would have done well to do so. So Olivier again passes Pollard, and that's a good delivery. Roundabout off stump, just offering to go away. Olivier fixes his glare on Patel after that delivery. Interesting.
Thanks, Benji, for your email, which I'll probably wait till the end of the over to read that out. It opens up an interesting, what's another phrase for can of worms? Must be one. Try to avoid cliches like the plague, as they say.
In comes Olivier again, short of a length, and this time it's worked down to third man, where Frayne is around the boundary to do the fielding, cuts off the 4, they get through for 1. Patel 26, 144, 4-3. Always makes me smile when I look at the player profile for Duhan Olivier. Born on the 9th of May 1992 in Groblersdal.
Oh yeah.
Limpopo. Limpopo's a great name, isn't it?
It is wonderful. Limpopo. Got a feeling Flanders and Swan wrote a song including Limpopo. Not sure.
Olivier in again, wide of off stump. Wesley Shoulders arms, no run. Groblersdal, Limpopo. I bet Tony Gregg was saying, marvellous, marvellous, marvellous.
Do you sort of stand up at a pub and do this sort of as a cabaret act? You know, do they say, "Come on, Jonathan, give us some of your impressions. It's worth a free pint or two."
You're indulging me, you see. Most people usually just say, "Will you just shut up?"
Well, no, we love it. Maybe next year.
Or I get the typical, I didn't realise that Tony Gregg came from, Cardiff or whatever.
Yes.
Graham, good morning to you. Graham Daniels says, Essex boy living in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, very happy so far. Can confirm scoreboard issues at East Arsley Cricket Club on Saturday, apparently due to overheating. Who would have thought it? In comes Fisher, and blocked solidly by Patel on this occasion. No run. Graham says, bless the 3 C's: city, camper vans and cider. Used to sell a bit of cider actually on the side at one stage, several years ago. Went round a lot of farms around the UK tasting it.
Yes.
That was the fun bit. Small producers. It's quite good actually. In comes Fisher again then from this river end, and up there again. Yorkshire bowled pretty well this morning, I've got to say. You wouldn't be certainly wanting to criticise what you've seen. They've been there and thereabouts. Little in the way of boundaries. The runs have been scored in a bit of a trickle, but they haven't yet taken a wicket, and I don't think there's a great deal more they can do.
No, I don't think so.
Just got to keep nagging away and wait for one of the batsmen to make a mistake. Fisher in again, coming in at a little bit more angle. They were talking about this morning, that he might angle his run up a little more in the mode of a bend code perhaps, so that the ball is aiming in towards the right-handed batsman, and then Matthew Fisher gets it to go away, might get it to go away from that inward angle, or maybe just hold its line, making the batsman play on a very regular basis. Here he is again. Sets off with that economical run. What a lovely bowling action he's got again. Reaches for the sky with that front arm and pulls the delivery arm right through over the top at 12 o'clock. This one was just short of a length and punched up to mid-off where Patterson fielded. chat between the skipper and Gary Balance. Bishop polishes the ball on the back of the right cheek, as it were, and he's in again. This time he's strayed a little bit leg-side-ish, and he's been whipped off the legs down to the pavilion where Olivier is posted, and will cut off the boundary. They get through for a single, 27 to Patel, and 145 for 3.
Yeah, Rishi Patel looking very good. Okay, he's only got 27 to his name, but most of them have been a good 27. I'm a great fan of Rishi Patel's, having watched him for several years in club cricket.
Fisher in again, now false stroke here from Wesley, who's trying to whip that to leg. Has got a very thick outside edge on it, and it's skewed away out towards the point boundary. They're going to pick up 3 runs here. It's been pulled in by Harry Brook, a couple of metres short of the Felsted School stand. So 148 for 3, 61 now to Wesley, but he didn't know too much about that.
He certainly didn't. No, that was a big miscue to, well, as you say, to be looking to hit it through mid-wicket, and it finishes up almost on the deep backward square boundary, and it's a long boundary too. Right, Benji's email. Is there... Oh, isn't that always the way, just when I go to read it? Anyway, I can remember the gist of it. I will get it back word for word, but the gist of it was, there was a big crowd here. He was here yesterday, and there was a big crowd on the Sunday. And why aren't there more matches played, or championship games played on a Saturday and Sunday? Well, I think the reason is all about sponsorship, and all the clubs have to pay lip service to their sponsors, and basically sponsors don't want to dish out their hospitality at weekends.
Olivier in, Wesley on strike, courtesy of that 3, turns it to Maharaj at square leg, no run. It's
not so much they don't want to dish out the hospitality, but people don't like to indulge in corporate hospitality at weekends. They like to do that in the firm's time, not their own time, which is why there's so much emphasis on midweek cricket, because, as I say, totally understandably, people want a day at the cricket being wined and dined in the firm's time, not their own.
In comes Olivier again, it's up there to drive. Wesley accepts the invitation, doesn't quite get it right. Out there to Balance, no run. And in response to further response to Graham's message about Essex boy living in Wakefield, East Ardsley Cricket Club, I know where it is. I don't think I've ever been on the ground there, actually. But one of many, many, many cricket clubs in the West, well, the Yorkshire area, but West Yorkshire in particular. In comes Olivier again. It's out wide of off stump this time on the full, and Wesley opens the face, and that's a good drive from Tom Wesley, who's not always looked entirely comfortable. Certainly yesterday he's looked a little bit more in control of what he's doing today, I think. And 65 on the scoreboard, far and away the biggest individual effort in this match so far. 152 for 3 with that boundary. And morning to you, Malcolm, who says, morning from Alicante, where we've had a bit of a storm this morning, all of 20 drops of rain, just as well, because it was hotter than hell yesterday, he says. We need wickets. Essex have had more than a bit of luck, but I think spin will be necessary.
Yeah, that boundary brought up the 50 partnership, the third wicket going at 101. I have now got Benji's email back. Is there a reason why the ECB doesn't schedule all county championship matches to include both Saturday and Sunday instead of starting on Sunday, which not many of them even start on a Sunday? I think this one and the preceding one were originally scheduled to start on the Monday, and they were brought forward a day.
Olivier in, it's full, and it's worked off the legs this time by Tom Wesley, and down to fine leg where Matty Taylor is on the field at the moment as a Yorkshire 12th man. They get through for just a comfortable single there, so 66 now Wesley, 153 for 3.
Benji continues, I was at the ground yesterday and it was very busy because it was not a working day. Surely it would be most beneficial to cricket if the ECB thought a bit more when scheduling matches.
Olivier in again, good delivery this time. Patel holds the bat out to dry around about off stump, just beats the outside edge there through to Tattersall. That's the end of Olivier's over. And at 59 now bowled, 153 for 3, 66 to Wesley, 27 to Patel. Time for me to step out, I think, because I've got an update to do in a few minutes' time on BBC Radio Leeds. Matty Fisher going to continue, as is Dick.
Thanks, Jonathan, very much. Yeah, well, Benji, the ECB do think about the fixtures, and what they think is that they have to appease the sponsors, maybe more than the spectators. That, I believe, is the main reason why there's so much midweek championship cricket compared with, or cricket generally, compared with weekend cricket. As I say, 2 games, I'm not sure if it was this one and the preceding one, but there were certainly 2 games this season here at Chelmsford. That's just played into the mid-wicket area for a single, which were originally meant to be Monday to Thursday, and I think it was after sort of exhortation from the members, they said, this is ridiculous, we're paying a membership fee and not getting much weekend cricket. Can you bring it forward a day? And given their due, Essex thought, yes, okay, we're willing to do it, and they consulted the ECB and presumably their oppositions, and both parties, or all parties, said yes, that's okay with us. That's just wraps Patel on the pad, but the ball clearly going down the leg side, so no appeal. And so yes, they were brought forward today, otherwise there would be even less cricket, or fewer cricket days at the weekend, which is very disappointing, but it's the way the game is run now.
Yeah, it was the Hampshire and Somerset
was
games.
It Hampshire and Somerset? I knew there were
brought
2
forward
of them.
today, but no, you're right. But for that, there wouldn't even have been anything like the number of Sundays that we have had cricket.
No, Fisher to Patel, who just plays solidly, defensively, very, very correctly. We've had an email from Steve called "Clichés, Can of Worms," and morning, gents. Especially thanks to Jonathan for all the accents. Any more coming? Oh, we'll insist, we'll insist. Yes, please. Eddie Waring was particularly entertaining yesterday, yes.
Yes, Eddie's going to put in an appearance this afternoon for sure.
Excellent. The memories of the great Eddie Waring. As Fisher moves in, bowls to Patel, who again plays defensively and correctly. It trickles out just on the onside of straight and picked up. Greasy, that's it, Greasy Limpo is the song. I knew that Flanders and Swan had referred to the Limpopo, and I thought it was the hippopotamus song. Yes, it's in the hippopotamus song known as Mud, Mud, Glorious Mud. Yes, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow down to the hollow, etc. Alternatives for Can of Worms. Pandora's Box. As Fisher moves in and bowls. And again played defensively, this time slightly on the move, with Patel moving into the shot. It trickles out to mid-on. Cat Amongst the Pigeons also kind of works. Yes. More seriously, if Essex don't lose more than 1 wicket in the first hour plus, they will be well set batting well against solid, accurate bowling. Thanks again for the great commentary. Thanks for the great emails, Steve and others. Yes, it is a very good bowling attack, and Essex are playing it very well. They're not taking any undue risks, whatever. They're treating every ball on its merits. And QED, that's just played out on the offside. Oh no, I don't think that's. I think that's a technical one. I don't even understand the subject line, let alone the emails. I'm sure that's nothing to do with us. We occasionally get, although it's Essex cricket email, sometimes we get sort of generic emails which hit all sorts of Essex websites, not websites, email addresses. That's what I'm looking for. End of the over, 154 for 3. The main scoreboard's still not working, but at least we do have the lesser one. There have been occasions when neither has been working, but at least we do have one to help us. 154 for 3.
Elsewhere, Warwickshire 232 for 4, replying to Hampshire's 539. Somerset 326 all out. Nottinghamshire 41 for 1. Ben Slater the man out. Surrey 271 for 9. For 9 meant they were all out because Gareth Batty is injured. Kent are 12 for no wicket in reply. And in Division 2, Leicester 153 for 6, replying to Durham's 117 all out. Gloucester 84 for 2, replying to bottom of the table Middlesex's 172 all out. Northants 360 for 8 against high-flying Lancashire. And Derbyshire 59 for 2 second innings.
Wesley plays defensively and trickles back to the bowler.
Derbyshire 59 for 2, trailing by 5 on first innings to Worcestershire, so they're 54 runs ahead.
Trickles back to the bowler, Ollie Fear. And I thought of a good cryptic clue for how to pronounce Ollie Fear's name.
Give me the clue and I'll see if I can then pronounce it.
Yes, I'll come back to it after this. As Ollie Fear moves in again. Let's just play back to bowler. Cockney's trepidation of Christmas decoration.
Very good, yes. I'll have a go at this. Ollie Fear?
A fear of Ollie, yes.
Indeed.
Or I suppose trepidation regarding Laurel or Hardy. Not quite sure which one. That's pulled away. It's got a top edge and has gone down to long leg. It wasn't under control at all. It bounced a couple of times. There is a fielder at long leg or fine leg, and it bounced a couple of times before him, but got quite a significant edge on that. And indeed, Wesley's just looking at the edge of his bat, see if it's all intact. So yeah, one of the emailers suggested that Essex has had their share of luck. I agree entirely. But similarly, yeah, that's always happens in sport, always happens in life. And generally speaking, swings and roundabouts, they all level out. But certainly, Essex have, when there's been some luck going, it's been the home side's benefit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said they'd had any more than most sides have, though. There were moments yesterday when Yorkshire had their moments of luck as well. But on the whole, I don't think the game's been decided by luck. I think Yorkshire have bowled very accurately, and Essex have shown commendable patience this morning.
Indeed, and that's played defensively. And it doesn't look as if it's going to be decided today, certainly, because Essex have done well, not losing a wicket in the first hour and 5 minutes. They haven't piled on the runs. This time yesterday, Yorkshire had scored, well, more than a run a ball. I can't remember exactly what they'd got, but they'd probably got well in excess of 60 by this time. But
128 for 5 at lunch, weren't they? Yeah.
They were indeed. And Patel goes on his toes. He's a tall man anyway, but he went on his toes to make sure he got over the top of the bounce and plays it out off the back foot to extra cover, and the fielder has to chase it towards the hospitality suite and the committee box. 2 more runs go on to the Essex score, taking it on to 157 for 3, and these two have added what could be a vital 56 runs already.
Those were Patel's first runs for about 25 minutes, but that's not a criticism because he's taking the place of Ravi Bopara, bearing in mind, he's only played a couple of games for Essex in the past. If you remember, Dick, he played at the Oval. I think that was his championship debut again, because Bopara had I think it was a back problem for that particular game back in April. And he made, I think it was 31 very quickly. And one of the shots he played through the covers, I still remember to this day. He sort of got down on one knee and absolutely creamed it away. A fabulous shot. A very different sort of innings here. He was kind of half a minute at the Oval, whereas here he's played very much to team orders. And I give him all credit, that he has been able to come in place of Bopara, who's a big loss to Essex, having made 135 at Trent Bridge in the week. So to come in and not be the weak link and be part of already a 50 partnership, power to add, and he's pretty much gone even-handedly with Wesley in terms of who's got what runs in the partnership. He's 29 not out, and that is a decent effort for a young man trying to make his way in the game.
Yep, certainly is.
Spin now being introduced for the first time this morning. Kesh Maharaj.
Bowling from the river end, the city end, the end from which we are commentating. And so the first time spin's been introduced today. And he moves in off only 3 or 4 paces. Conventional left arm spin, therefore moving it away from the right-handed Wesley. Well, both the batsmen are right-handed. He has one slip, a short leg just in front of square, a backward point, cover, extra cover, deep extra cover.
Bit of turn and bounce there for his first delivery.
Very first delivery. Moves in now, bowls, and Wesley comes forward, smothers the spin, it trickles out on the offside. Very pleasant day here, the sun's shining. More sunshine today than there was yesterday. It was still a pleasant day yesterday, but we didn't see the sun too often.
A little bit chillier today because there's more of a breeze.
Yes, but it looks nicer. It's short of a length, chopped away, square on the offside for a comfortable single. Good throw comes in to the gloves of wicketkeeper Tattersall.
And as accurately as the quicker bowlers have bowled this morning, I would actually have had Maharaj into the attack a good 20 minutes to half an hour sooner, because actually in the last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, there hasn't really looked to be that much likelihood of a wicket. And I just would have felt the spinner might have provided a different angle.
Lily of Moulton is with you on that one, so you have a lot in common with Lily of Moulton. Oh, and that beat the batsman rather. Rishi Patel has been playing really well, but he was beaten there by both the turn and the bounce.
Yeah, nasty one actually.
It was, very
wicket-keeper, I think it hit the wicket-keeper in the end, and it wasn't nice for him either.
Maharaj in again, this time very studiously. The batsman Patel goes on his back foot, plays it out on the onside.
Of course, Essex won't be that troubled if Maharaj does make the ball talk, because Essex have a spinner of their own who's rather useful.
They do indeed. They'd like it to be delayed a little while. Essex don't have a lead yet. They are still 50 behind exactly. 158 plays 208. 258 for 3. At the end of that over, 158 for 3 in reply to the visitors' 208. And Essex played the correct game this morning, been confronted with some very good, accurate, tight bowling, and met it with appropriate resistance.
Yeah, just adding further to Lily's latest email from Moulton in Yorkshire, as you were saying, Dick, she was for bringing Kesh Maharaj on some time ago. Duane Olifier's nickname, Olifier, is Big D. She says, I'm enjoying the brilliant commentary.
Thanks to Lily very much. And it's Olifier.
Big D.
I don't know him well enough to use his nickname. I only ever refer to people by their nicknames if I know them well enough, and I've never spoken to
I'll
them.
introduce you at the close of play.
Oh, you do. And tell me one thing, talking of, not so much of Lily, but of Moulton. You've lived and worked in Yorkshire for some time. Whereabouts in the vast county is Moulton?
It's you go past York on the A64, you come to Moulton, and if you're me, you then turn left for Pickering, which is the southern terminus of the North Yorkshire Moors Railway.
Right, thank you for that. So that's played solidly, defensively, trickles out on the offside, picked up by Balance.
Yeah, Moulton is on the York to Scarborough Railway, Scarborough Spa Express.
Oh, well, I must have gone through it.
Yeah,
then.
you will have done.
Must have gone through it on the way to delightful Scarborough ground, delightful Scarborough town.
Indeed, wonderful place. Love the cricket ground.
That's short of length and was aimed in the direction of Patel's sort of neck or throat, but he had time just to duck away from it, or back away from it. It went through to the wicketkeeper. Patel looking good. I know I'm always singing Patel's praises, probably because I've spoken to him so many times at Brentwood Cricket Club, and yes, he's a good lad. I hope he does well. Well, I hope all Essex players do well, obviously. And he plays that back to the bowler, educated at Brentwood School, just across the road from the Brentwood Cricket Club, which used to be one of the numerous grounds that Essex played on in days of yore, when they alternated playing on any 8 of 9 grounds at least.
Yeah, it was a nice ground, and
Yeah.
I've played at Brentwood School on more than one occasion back in the day.
As that's just played out in the offside. No addition to the score of 159 for 3.
37 added by Essex without losing a wicket at this point.
Yes, in 43 minutes, so it hasn't been exciting, but it's been interesting.
I think it's 73 minutes.
What did I say?
43.
Oh yes, I missed out the other bit. As that was now that was a nasty delivery. I hasten to add, dear Essex listeners, that Rishi Patel is still there, but it reared up off not much short of a length and took Patel by surprise. It's probably a good job that he's a tall lad, and yes, that certainly did inconvenience him more than a little, but he's not in any distress. He did shake his right hand a little bit, but no alarms.
Well, that certainly stood right up in his face. I thought he did ever so well to get it straight to ground off the glove and show no sort of reaction whatsoever. Alafir must be a bit disappointed, because it was an absolute brute of a delivery. And one, funnily enough, I'll come back to that later.
After this delivery from Maharaj, which is met with stern, stolid and obdurate defence by Wesley.
My memory of playing, as I was saying, at Brentwood School is getting a delivery, obviously much slower than that, but the same sort of effect, standing right up in my face from a length.
As that's worked away on the onside. Without any addition to the score. Did you say that was at the school or at the cricket club?
At the school.
At the school.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never played at the school. Only at the cricket club. As the next delivery, again, met with stern defence, just trickles back down the 20-odd yards to the bowler.
Brian Hardy, of course, former Essex opener, hit the winning runs when Essex first won the county championship. He went to teach at Brentwood School on retirement from cricket.
Yes, the cricket master there now is another former Essex player, Jake Mickleborough.
I didn't know that, right. Yeah, good for Jake.
I think this is his just coming towards the end of his second year there, I think. In fact, probably, I mean, public schools, they break up so early. It's probably finished, done and dusted, and they've all gone off doing whatever students do in the long summer holidays nowadays.
Point we've often made, but I'm very surprised that Jake got no offers to continue playing county cricket when he left Essex. There are far inferior players to him around.
Yes, and that's just played defensively, trickles out on the offside. And that over reaches its conclusion as well, with Essex having taken their overnight score of 122 for 3 on to 159 for 3, still 49 runs behind the Yorkshire score.
And rather as was the case at Trentbridge in Essex's previous game, they've managed to bowl out the opposition fairly quickly, and as was the case at Trentbridge, Essex themselves have scored slowly, methodically, settling for a maximum 3 bonus points. At Trentbridge they got 509 in the end, but they only got 3 bonus points, and they've taken the view that building a big first innings lead is far more important than chasing, an extra point or 2 here and there, and I think they're probably right in that, even though we had an emailer yesterday saying that by losing the first game at the Aegeus, Essex had surrendered the title there and then because Somerset were going to get more batting points. Things can change very quickly in this game. I'm not saying Essex will even win this game. Yorkshire may win it in the end, but I don't think you can really reckon that after just one game a title is decided when the matches are so prone to things like the weather.
No, quite. As I was saying yesterday.
Yeah, as the season develops, anything can happen.
Yes. Yeah, social media was, well, it would be exaggeration to say it was a wash, but there were several comments as Alafir moves in and bowls to Patel, who plays that defensively out into the covers. They think about a single, but it's not there for the taking. Comments on social media saying, if Essex had scored more quickly at Trent Bridge, they'd have got more bonus points. Well, they might also not have won the game, so Yeah, no, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
I think you have to play each game on its merits. You can't be looking at the top of the table and seeing what someone else is doing all the time.
No.
And then if it gets late in the season and you're within range, then you play accordingly.
Yes. As that's whipped away. Very pleasant flick of the wrists at the very last moment by Patel. Picks up 2 runs deep backward of square on the onside. I must admit, I think I've said this before, maybe not this season. I'm not quite sure why there are bonus points now, because on the one hand, as so often happens in cricket, it seems to be pulling in opposite directions. Often the pulling in opposite directions is the marketing of the game against the playing of the game. And that's just played defensively. But this particular apparent pulling in opposite directions is to do with the playing of the game. Bonus points were introduced originally to encourage brighter play and the quicker scoring of runs and taking wickets, which now happens almost instinctively anyway as a result of the glut of one-day cricket. And yet, conversely, Championship games always used to be played over 3 days, then they extended it to 4, so as to encourage batsmen in particular to build long innings. Now, which do they want? Do they want them to build long innings, or do they want them to get quick innings? To my mind, they are,
No, very good point.
Poles apart. As not often Paul says that about anything I say. So cherish it, folks. I certainly will. As played out on the onside, Olivier now bowling round the wicket to Patel, but
I mean, if the aim of 4-day cricket is to produce test players, then you have to say, well, surely, therefore, you want people not just to hit 3 boundaries and get out, but to bat all day. So why have bonus points? I mean, for me, I always think the 3 points for bowling, nearly everybody bowls a side out in 110 overs, so do you really need points for that?
No, I think it's an anachronism. That's nudged away by Patel down for a single down to long leg to the still non-functioning major scoreboard. So whatever problems they have there now of some significance, because I didn't really look to see, but it must be getting on for an hour since we had the main scoreboard working. But luckily we have 2 which clearly are not linked, which is why one can work and one doesn't. The lesser of the 2 doesn't tell us anywhere near as much detail, but enough, certainly enough for our purposes. It can tell us that Essex are 162 for 3, and that Wesley is on 70, and that Patel is on 32. And that's a bouncer, and Wesley ducks underneath it, and it goes through to the wicket-keeper. End of the over, the 65th over of the Essex innings, and they are 162 for 3.
Heard from John from Purton on the subject of nicknames.
Oh, yes.
And John says, one of my favourites was for the former Northamptonshire player, Paul Rose, and the nickname was Human.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Human Remains.
And of course, I'm sure we brought up the former Essex player, Mark Waugh, who was known as Tugger.
Tugger. Yes, I like that one as well.
Yeah.
I just find this business of adding a gratuitous syllable E to people's names rather, well, at best unimaginative.
Another one now that's very widespread is to add an S to the first syllable, so Porter becomes Ports.
Oh, yeah.
Which is known by, I think, pretty widely.
Right. And it's Maharaj still bowling, and it's played defensively by Patel.
Similarly, I would be known as Newts.
Yes. And that's played defensively, trickles out to short leg, no addition to the score.
Yes, so we've heard from Istanbul Steve again, and we'll come to your email at the end of this rapid over spin.
Maharaj in again, and again it's Patel who plays it with dogged defence. Good partnership, this 61 runs it's yielded, and yielded in the correct way, as much as the bowling is really good, and it's being met with equally dogged batting as well.
And Essex can be rightly proud of their academy, as we see it's 2 of their produce. Wesley's been around for over a decade now, and young Rishi Patel in his first season apart from 12-man appearances in the first team.
Yes. Maharaj moves in again and bowls. Slight field change before that delivery, as much as the short leg crossed over the wicket. I hasten to say leaping over it so as not to leave boot marks, and now slim it off. And again, play defensively.
Thank you very much.
And the tea ticket, the lunch tickets arrive, which
Yep,
is the most
that's
important
right.
event of the day.
Thanks very much, June there, for delivering the
162 for 3, with 70 to Wesley and 32 to Rishi Patel.
Yeah, Paul Hiscock's wife June very kindly delivering the meal tickets, the highlight of our morning, as our regular listeners will be well aware, and we have a wonderful Anne's Pantry outlets on the ground, keeping us alive for another day. Yeah, so Istanbul Steve's email.
Oh yes.
Having only seen Rishi Patel yesterday and today for the first time, he looks a fine prospect. So, I'm in agreement with you, Dick. Oh, and how often do we hear that, especially from Paul? Let me work on that one, Steve. I think the answer is extremely rarely. It seems he has a good sense of where his stumps are, and he's left well. That's a good point, actually. A leave is very important.
Yes. Olivier to Wesley. Wesley, in at least 2 minds there, if not 3. He thought about it was short of length. He thought about hooking it, then realised it wasn't there for the hook, and so backed out of the shot altogether. It was well played in the end.
Certainly was, and Steve continues, it seems that Rishi Patel, has a good sense of where his stumps are, his left well, plays spin with ease and is sensible yet positive against pace. At this juncture, a fine replacement for Ravi, perhaps sad to think that far ahead in the years to come.
As Olivier moves in again, bowls to Wesley. He's also short for length. He hooks it, he doesn't get it out of the middle of the bat, and his heart would have been in his mouth for a little while, because it went up in the air for far longer than he would have anticipated, and it bounced not too far short, but well enough for it not really to be a genuine chance, but it was a little bit near the man at mid-on.
Yes, I mean, he's a bit fortunate there, because that pull shot, when he gets it absolutely right, it's a tremendous shot, it is, but he didn't get properly inside the line there, and hence it takes the top edge, it goes up in the air.
That's right.
So, on technical merit there, I'm afraid I can only give him a 5.
As that's just played defensively. So, yep.
Just to finish up his email, yes, he says that in years to come, as Ravi phases out, Rishi can step into his place, perhaps a job share at number 5. And he says Ray, Lilly and Moulton and Norton, semi-famed for their horse racing and training facilities. Indeed, the Easterby's train, amongst other trainers near Moulton. A market town, superb large town square in the middle. I went to a college up there in the 80s. Lovely area, it is indeed.
Olivier to... Oh, and Wesley gets in a bit of trouble there. It was short of a length. He tried to duck under it, and it didn't really come through at the height that he expected, and hit him in the back. He seems okay, and the man at short leg, I think that is Maharaj, inquires after Wesley's health, and he says, yes, I'm okay. I'll probably have a bit of a bruise to show when I take my shirt off, but yeah, other than that, I'm okay. And Olivier moves in again and bowls, and he plays that on the leg side, and it drops just short. It's not, it's Frayne at short leg.
Yes, John from Purton comes back on the subject of nicknames. I mentioned Mark Waugh was known as Tugger, and John says initially Mark Waugh was nicknamed Afghan, the Forgotten War, when Steve kept getting picked for Australia and Mark wasn't.
Oh, yes.
You're quite right. Yeah, very entertaining, thank you.
Yes, that's played by Wesley into the covers. They scamper through for a quick single. A throw comes in, aimed at the stumps rather than the keeper, because there wasn't time for the keeper to get up to the stumps, and it missed the stumps, but I think probably Patel was home and dry anyway. End of the over, so Wesley keeps the strike. He's on 73, Patel has 32, and Essex resuming at 122 for 3 or 165 for 3.
And the Grumbler, on the same subject, says, you mentioned Mark Waugh's nickname. I thought it was Afghanistan during his time at Essex in the 80s, when he was yet to establish himself like his brother had. The reason was he was the Forgotten War. So, yep, you're both quite right, John and Grumbler. on that. Thank you very much indeed. But eventually known as Tugger to his Essex teammates. Wesley needs another 5 to beat the 77 he scored at Headingley, which to date is his highest score of the season.
And he's on strike, facing up to Maharaj, who moves in, left arm round the wicket. And Wesley goes forward solidly again. It trickles back to the bowler. Good crowd here, especially considering it's a working day, and not just in the members' enclosure, albeit that the members' enclosure hasn't got room for very many more, really. But the public enclosure is well occupied as well. That's played out on the offside, which is always good to see, because obviously the members have already paid their money, so the powers that be in the corridors of power like to see the public coming in and paying at the turnstile. We don't have turnstiles nowadays, but paying at the gate. As the next delivery is played solidly again, trickles out the offside. No addition to the score. Just coming up to 12:30. I was going to say Jonathan's turn soon, but he's next door in the press box, as is Mark Baldwin of the Times. Well, just had a look in there. That's trickled out on the offside, no addition to the score.
Good to see Mark here, a splendid fellow.
And Maharaj moves in again to Wesley, and again Wesley goes forward with stolid defence, solid and stolid, and it trickles back to the bowler. And no addition to the score, 165 for 3.
Lily gives away her trade secrets here. She says Kesh Maharaj is bowling well and getting the ball to spin. On the one hand, she says cricketers' nicknames are boring, but then she says Jonathan's nickname is Doiji and mine is Looney.
Right.
Thank you, Lily.
Looney?
Yes. Her surname is Olumi, so it probably has something to do with that.
I thought it might be some reference to Lily of Laguna, but no. A well-known old-time music hall, for those who don't know what I'm talking about.
So Big D is going to continue. Duane Olivier from the Hayes Close End.
Wearing number 74 on his back for reasons best known to him. Or maybe there's no reason, maybe it's just the next one around.
Yeah, 73 other players on Yorkshire's books.
Could be. Some have a meaning to them, some don't. Root obviously has 66 for equally obvious reasons. And slight delay while the field is adjusted. Indeed, Captain Patterson goes up and has a word with his bowler.
Well, I think we could switch over here, Dick, because Jonathan is now...
Oh, he has now.
Adjacent.
Availed himself of a mug of tea, and I'll make way for him.
Thank you very much to Dick Davis. Olivier's in. Bowls, and Patel plays the ball down to mid-on, 165 for 3, and 73 and 32 respectively, Wesley and Patel. I think Patel actually, I think he got something like 31 at the Oval back in April, so this may be his top score for Essex, because he's might have had one more game since where I don't think he scored many. And Wesley is close to a season's best, as here's Olivier in, bowls to Patel, gets up on tiptoe to fend off not a very short delivery, but a little bit short of a length, plays it safely back to the bowler, and the score remains 165 for 3. Essex at 43 behind as we welcome Jonathan back to the microphone.
Thank you very much. The late Jonathan, by the sound of it.
Yes, in one way.
Just waiting for the kettle to boil in there next door.
It can take a while. More emails to come, but here's Olivier in. Bowls and punch through the covers by Patel. Hasn't hit it with much force, so they're just going to settle for the single. Harry Brook retrieves, and 166 for 3. Reduces the leeway to 42, and Patel with what I think is now an Essex best, career best, therefore is 33.
Yeah, good morning. If you are an Essex supporter, they've played with care, they've played well, no major alarm, just been a couple of aerial shots that have interested Yorkshire, and no major issues with the Yorkshire bowl now that it's been there and thereabouts. Just pitch might be playing a little bit slower possibly.
Olivier bowls, and Wesley guides this one down to backward point and Brook, no run, 166 for 3. We hear from Michael Biswell, who says, good afternoon. The game is progressing nicely, very professional. The game against Warwickshire on Saturday will need a decision about a replacement bowler with Porter away with the Lions, presumably Siddle, Beard and Harmer. Will Matt Quinn be the other one, or might they spring a surprise with Walter or young Ben Allison, or indeed Matt Coles might be... I know he's been with Northamptonshire, but I think he's due back as Olivier bowls and Wesley clips the ball off the pads to deep backward square leg for a single. Kesh Maharaj does the fielding. Wesley moves up to 74, the score to 167 for 3.
So Patel back on strike. Adjustments to the field as well. Just the one slip now in place as Yorkshire try to both cut out runs and find a way of breaking this partnership, which has been an excellent effort by the pair of them, who came together when the score was on, 101.
Olivier again, just the one slip now, bowls, and is that edge? No, it's not. There was a loud shout. It was nearly a strangle because Patel flicked at that, and doubtless... Now, what's happening here? I think they're just bringing new gloves on. He started walking off. I thought, well, has he decided, yes, I touched that? But no, Paul Pollard rules not out. Olivier disgruntledly takes his cap at the end of that over. It remains 167 for 3. And let me see, we've had 45 runs added in the morning.
Yeah, I hit it, so... To be fair, the umpire didn't give it, and the Yorkshire lads are feeling a little bit dejected there, so I feel I ought to really walk off. Yes.
Not.
Morning to you, Nick Briggs, up in York. He says, could you give me your opinion on Keshav Maharaj? I appreciate that he made a big contribution to the great win at Scarborough last week, but with our batting being somewhat brittle this season, should we not have been looking towards signing either an overseas or an experienced English batsman? Well, my opinion on Keshav Maharaj is that he is a very good left-arm spinner. Bowls it with quite a flat trajectory. He's got good variations in pace. Probably not the biggest turner of the ball, but as we know, don't necessarily need to be.
Here he bowls to Wesley. Smartly fielded by Balance in the covers, no run.
In terms of a signing, we've said this many times this season, really, when that question was asked at the start of the campaign.
Maharaj bowls again and just up to back pad, no run.
That there are questions about what does the team need and who's out there in terms of availability. I think what you're saying is that the batting needs bolstering up. Not difficult to argue against that point.
Maharaj is in, bowls and play back to the bowler
on the basis of what you see on the scorecards. But I think there's plenty of faith in the lads in the top half of the batting order that they will come good more consistently.
And here Wesley plays the ball on the up, but has to check the shot as he realised that he might be in danger of hitting that in the air. Instead it goes along the ground to Balance in the covers, no run.
And Yorkshire did need a top-class spin bowler.
Maharaj, who is that, bowls, and it's played to mid-wicket, and no run.
It's an interesting way of answering an email, isn't it? Between
yes.
Brief spells between deliveries in an over.
Last ball of the over. Maharaj slipping the back pad, bowls, back pad fields, no run, maiden over, 74 to Wesley, 33 to Patel, and Essex 167 for 3, trailed by 41.
If you've got any designs on winning a title, yeah, obviously you need quality batsmen in there. You need quality all round in the team, and that includes a spinner. And I think it's very difficult to win championships without somebody of top draw spin potential. Now, I accept that he's only signed for the 3 games. They intended to sign him for 4, which is why, of course, there was an opportunity for James Logan to play in the game at York, because that visa didn't come through in time, or else he would have been playing in that game as well. But I think Yorkshire, having got themselves in that the money end of the championship table, albeit still a couple of wins behind Somerset, a win behind Essex, if they're going to have any chance of being there or thereabouts at the end of the season, they did need this, ability to kick on in the middle period. He hasn't yet taken a wicket in this match. Took 6 at Scarborough and bowled well. He's not bowling badly here either. But things may change quickly again. If you break this partnership, then coming in against something like that, it's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Such a good point, because these two are well embedded at this particular stage, but that old cricket maxim from none other than Geoffrey Boycott, always add 2 wickets and you get the real picture of how the game may lie. That is very relevant. It's going to be Matt Fisher returning at the Hayes Close end to take over from Duane Olivier. Got 1 or 2 more emails to get through during this over, but in the meantime, Fisher just asking mid-wicket to come a little bit straighter, as here is the first ball from Fisher, and played into the offside. Harry Brookfield, score remaining 167 for 3. We have a correction from John McLachlan, who says, we did say earlier that the Limpopo was mentioned in the Hippopotamus song. He says it isn't mentioned in that. It appears in Kipling's Just So stories, The Elephant's Child. I am going to the great grey-green greasy Limpopo, all set about with fever trees. And he finishes, my regards to all my old friends at Leigh-on-Sea Cricket Club. Here's the next delivery, and Patel plays it out square on the offside. Again, there'll be no run.
Limpopo, what a marvellous name.
Indeed, Tony, yes, thank you very much. As we have Tim Hardwick on the subject of nicknames, who says, not cricket related, but my favourite is a footballer called Fitz Hall, and his nickname was One Size. Now, I've heard this before. It's a brilliant nickname for somebody called Fitz Hall. One Size Fitz Hall. You get it? That, I think, really is top drawer, and thank you very much for reminding me of that, Tim, as here is the next delivery. Played down to mid-on. There's no run, and he finishes also as a chap in my local that is well known for not getting his round in, is known as Crime, as he doesn't pay. Very good. I'll just say that a little bit more fluently. As a chap in my local is well known for not getting his round in, is known as Crime, as he doesn't pay. Yes, very good indeed. We enjoyed that, well, both of them. In fact, the One Size and the Crime, as it's once again Fisher. Bowls. Patel drives, not out of the middle of the bat. 1 run of certainty. They may consider a second, and Deeb will take it quite comfortably. 169 for 3. Patel moves to 35. He can play that shot. I've seen him play that shot, and it rockets to the boundary. Didn't get all of that, but moves on by 2 runs.
No, I like the description now that they may consider a second. It's as if they're going to turn at the end of the run and go, I say, old chap, when you fancy a second, well, yeah, what a sporting suggestion that is. Let's pop on back then. Considered.
Here is Fisher, bowls, and Patel back in his best defensive mode, plays it back to the bowler.
Malcolm has mailed in as well. BBC West Yorkshire Sport at gmail.com is the Radio Leeds email address, but it doesn't matter who you support if you want to get in touch with us. He says he quite likes Tom Kohler-Cadmore's nickname Pepsi, though hearing that he has an umlaut rather spoils it. I do believe he's got an appointment to see the doctor about the umlaut.
Yes, as Fisher comes in. Ace close end, bowls, and in the air and caught. That is the end of Patel, who looks accusingly at his bat. He went to flick the ball through mid-wicket, but got underneath it, and the catch taken by Will Frayne. Good smart catch, should have caught it, did catch it, and a fine effort from Rishi Patel, getting, I think, his highest score for Essex to date. Is out for 35. More importantly, from the side's point of view, he has helped Tom Westley add 68 for the 4th wicket. But after adding 47 without previous loss this morning, Essex lose Patel, caught by Frayne off Fisher. A successful bowling change has done the trick. 169 for 4.
Yeah, and well bowled Matthew Fisher, who celebrated like nobody else on the ground. The ground fell silent, in fact, when the catch was taken. It was possibly, you sometimes get the crowd catch. It was almost as if that was the reverse of that, and everybody in the crowd thought, no, it's a bump ball. But he clearly picked it up just after the bounce. And Fisher getting it, with the fielder there, Will Frayne placed specifically for that sort of thing, getting it spot on. So he ran down the pitch in joyful celebration, and he was like a lone voice, a bit like a story I think my dad mentioned to me once years ago. Went to Hampden Park to watch a football international, England and Scotland. I think he said that England scored the first goal, and he sort of, I don't know if he said he jumped up or raised his arms or shouted or whatever, something like that. Silence all around among the Scottish fans. Fisher probably felt a bit conspicuous with that celebration there.
Yeah, just let me ask Dick if he wouldn't mind. I've come out, I can't remember passwords now, if he could possibly reconnect me, because I was in the middle of reading the next email when suddenly it's gone down. It happens from time to time. But Yorkshire have their breakthrough from the last ball of that over, and Kesh Maharaj is just about to bowl the first ball of the next. Ryan Tenduscarter at the non-striker's end. So Maharaj to Wesley, single, which will bring Tenduscarter straight on the strike, 174, and Wesley on 75.
And still no assistance from our little screen on the right due to the scoreboard not being in operation, so try and get a handle on Matthew Fisher's latest figures, dear me, at the end of that over.
Maharaj bowls, Tenduscarter a little bit edgily, plays it up to bat pad, there's no run.
Great commentary here from Noel Putin.
And again it's Maharaj. Bowls, Tenduscarter, up to Gary Ballance at short extra. No run there, we've got a slip, and there was a forward short leg, but now Will Frayne is switching across to silly point for Tenduscarter. Maharaj bowls, Tenduscarter brings the bat back as though he had aggressive intentions, and then drops a defensive bat on the ball, which goes back to the bowler.
Fisher 12 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 30 at the moment.
Good figures.
Yeah, good comeback.
Indeed,
first team action.
First game of the season is. Next ball, again Tenduscarter comes forward with what looked to be aggressive intent, but then he checks the shot and just plays it out to the silly point, to Will Frayne. 170 for 4, Essex are still 38 behind. And Maharaj again bowls, and the ball is steered out into the offside. They've gone for a single here. Shy comes in at the bowler's end. Tenduscarter hurries his way back into the ground at the non-striker's end. The over ends, 171 for 4. The 2 singles off the over. Wesley has 75, Tenduscarter 1. Essex are 37 behind.
So what's Ryan Tenduscarter's nickname? 9 out of, or something like that?
Well, it could be, I suppose, yes. Tendo, actually, is what they call him.
So Lilly has mailed in again. Afternoon to the 3 of us. Yorkshire need wickets as soon as possible, and he got a quick response on that one with Matthew Fisher's in his previous over. And she says, yes, my nickname Looney is to do with my surname.
Oh, Looney, yes. And Tenduscarter just taking guard before doing battle with Matt Fisher from the Hayes close end. 2 slips, Tom Kelly-Cadmore and Adam Live. Got backward point, cover mid-off, mid-on, short mid-wicket, man just in front of square leg, and a long leg 10 yards up from the boundary. Fisher in to bowl to the Essex captain. Ooh, that's come back sharply, field for LBW. Not out, says Paul Pollard, and Tenduscarter has been LBW. It's either 7 or 8 times this season, and last year his first 6 dismissals were all LBW, and there we saw where he is a bit liable to be that way, Jonathan, because he just shuffled across his stumps.
Yeah, clearly did so. And Yorkshire buoyed by the wicket. There was a fairly fervent appeal there. Once they've broken that partnership, teams are so often in the field, aren't they, all over the new batsman.
Yeah, might just have been going down leg side, but more than worth an appeal as it goes down outside off stump. And it's the first time I've seen Paul Pollard umpiring, though Dick established yesterday he's actually officiated in 7 Essex matches in total previously, and my impression is that he's a batsman's umpire rather than the bowler's.
Are they allowed to be like that?
No.
Say no more then.
But I think it happens. Billy Taylor, for example, I think is very much a bowler's umpire, and here Fisher bowls and Tender Scouter gets off the mark with sorry, no, he was already off the mark, but he gets another run into the offside. Harry Brooks sprints from backward point to just in front of point, but can't prevent the single. The Essex skipper on to 2, and Essex have 172 for 4.
And just gradually eroding that Yorkshire advantage here. 36 now Yorkshire have in hand with 6 wickets remaining, but the way they took wickets against last week at Scarborough, then whatever, they've got a little bit of an advantage. They'll remain hopeful.
Absolutely. Fisher's in to Wesley. Wesley, a brilliant bit of fielding at short mid-wicket, prevents a run. That's to Will Frayne, and he's already taken the catch to dismiss Rishi Patel for 35 in the previous Fisher over, and here what may well have been, it's such a long boundary out there, I don't think it would have gone for 4, but they'd have got 2, maybe 3, so good fielding from Frayne.
Yeah, he's got really quick reactions, hasn't he?
He has. Another very useful asset to the side. Fisher's in. Bowls to Wesley. Wesley drives, but straight up to balance in the covers. There's no run. And that's another reason why the Essex scoring rate has been as slow as it's been, that very often when the ball has been struck well, there's been some very good fielding.
Yeah, they've done that side of things very well. They were critical of themselves, particularly in white ball games earlier in the season. They let the opposition, they leaked runs, made it harder for themselves to chase, but absolutely no problem with the field in the last couple of weeks in red ball cricket. Excellent.
Fisher again, bowls to Wesley. Wesley's pulled this one into the onside, plays a bit sooner at it than he intended. He was looking to hit that into a huge gap through square leg, gets a single to mid-wicket. It was a perfectly safe shot. He moves along to 76, and Essex at the end of that Fisher over, 173 for 4 in 73 overs, so only 7 overs to the second new ball now, which will be available just after lunch.
I'm just going to pop and do a York.
Rightio. 173 for 4, and a problem we sometimes have at Chelmsford, difficult getting reconnected so we can read further emails out. Bear with us. In fact, Dick has done it, thanks ever so much, but not easy once you lose it here, as Maharaj is in and bowls, and this ball is thumped off the back foot for a single to deep cover. And Wesley will move along to 77. He's now equalled his season's best, which was against the same opposition at Headingley a month ago. So let's see if we can resume the emails as Tender Scouter plays the next ball into the covers. A nice brief one from John from Purton, keeping the nicknames theme going. Alan Lamb was nicknamed Legger. Good one. As here, down the pitch comes Tender Scouter and hit this clean over us in the commentary box and out into the river behind us. And that's the biggest hit of the match without a shadow of a doubt. And 180 for 4 as Tender Scouter goes up to 8. And Maharaj gave that just a little bit more air, and Tender Scouter latched onto it immediately. Never a man to hang about, the Essex captain, and deposited it into the river, which probably will give us a moment or two to read 1 or 2 more of your emails out. Jeff Leonard, who's a Gloucestershire supporter, but listens to Essex from time to time, and he comes up, he says Tom Pugh, who captained Gloucester in the early 60s, controversially replacing Tom Graveney, was known as Captain Pugwash, or Captain Pewwash if you like. Thanks very much indeed for that, Jeff. Always delighted to have your contributions here on the Essex line, talking of course to BBC Essex and Yorkshire callers, talking of whom Lily comes back with a couple more emails, but first of all Maharaj bowls again to Tender Scouter, who's all defence, score remaining 180 for 4, and Lily says finally Yorkshire have a wicket today. Good figures from Matt Fisher, 2 for 30 on his return to the team. My new nickname is Yorkshire Cricket Stato and Miss Yorkshire Cricket. As this ball is played into the offside, I'm enjoying the commentary as ever. Thank you very much, Lily. 180 for 4 with that 6 earlier in the over from Tender Scouter. Lily says again, Yorkshire need wickets as soon as possible. Maharaj has good varieties in his bowling. Big D, Olivier is bowling good line and length at times. Thank you very much, Lily. And I think Jonathan actually read that email out, because Lily quite rightly emails us both. Michael Biswell has come through to say Gareth Batty is ill, and because he had not taken part in the game so far, Kent agreed for a replacement bowler. However, the ECB has refused permission. Once a player has been named in a game, only concussion replacement. So Surrey only have 9 active players as the next ball is played into the offside. Yes, Surrey are having a wretched time with injuries, illnesses and bad luck. That ball is played out into the offside. There's no run. The over ends. Essex at 180 for 4, losing Patel, the wicket to go down today. Cork frame bowled Fisher 35. 68 run partnership for that 4th wicket. Wesley, meanwhile, has equalled his season's best, 77 not out, and Tenduscarter has 8.
Yeah, and you can understand that rule, can you? I mean, if you don't stick to that sort of thing hard and fast, then it is open to being abused, really, by somebody somewhere who's going to try and really play the rules to the nth degree. So I think it's unfortunate, but it is fair comment. So closing in on lunch. A couple of overs left before that. Matthew Fisher to continue. Essex will be, I think, now very happy with their morning's work.
So here comes Fisher. Bowls outside off stump left. And thank you much for your excellent emails yesterday and again this morning. And probably anything now, by all means send them, but we'll probably read them after lunch now, as the lunch hour is approaching, but makes the morning pass very agreeably indeed. Thank you all very much for your contributions, variously to essex.cricket at bbc.co.uk or to the Yorkshire addresses at Jonathan Doidge, the Twitter, as Wesley gets a single, playing to deep backward point, moves along to 78, and that, by my reckoning, is his season's highest now, 181 for 4, or BBC West Yorkshire Sport at gmail.com.
I say Essex will be very happy with the morning's work. At this point, if you stop the game, there would still a few balls to go before lunch, so if another wicket, or who knows, a couple of wickets fell between now and then Yorkshire might be happier.
Oh, definitely.
It's that sort of a game, isn't it?
Yep. Fisher's in. Bowls to Tenduscarter. Works the ball into the onside. Wants a run. It's not there. It's still 181 for 4. The scoring rate's been slow. 59 runs added in the session. That won't worry Essex, because Yorkshire have bowled well to make the scoring rate inevitably on the slow side. And it has to be said, Essex, when they were in the field, bowled too many loose deliveries, particularly in the session up to lunch, where 128 were scored in the session. Contrast that with the 59 that have come this morning here. Fisher bowls to Tenduscarter, works it off the pads, and a very good half stop, but they will still be able to come back for 2 here. Maharaj, as the fieldsman, dived to his right, or otherwise it may very well have gone to the boundary, so he probably saved 2, but Tenduscarter moves along to 10 and Essex to 183 for 4.
Yeah, good chase from Maharaj, bit of an inauspicious return throw, which fell short of Johnny Tattersall's gloves, but he'd done the hard work really in the first place, so we'll allow him that. And Tom Wesley, 80 runs, 20 short of a century. That would be something in the context of this game and on this pitch.
Quite right, as here Fisher bowls, and this ball's run down to third man by Tenduscarter, and that's there isn't one, so that is 4 runs, and he moves along very quickly to 14, but very predictably, if you don't get him out, he will score quickly. 187 for 4, 70. In fact, they give him 2 runs to Wesley. I was surprised when you said 80, quite understandably, because that was what was up on the scoreboard. But they give him 2 of Tenduscarter's runs, I think, to Wesley. I think he is, as they've now corrected it to, I think he is 78 not out, which nevertheless is his season's highest score, and Tenduscarter is on 14. So 187 for 4, and just 21 runs behind now. Fisher bowls, and this ball's going down, I think, for 4-leg byes, and just jagged back. There was an appeal, but it was clearly going down leg side. Took the pad, and too fine for long leg. No chance of cutting that off. 4 extras, 4 legs. 191 for 4 at the end of a rather more expensive over there from Matt Fisher. 74 overs, 75 in fact have now been bowled. 5 to the second new ball, and Essex are 17 behind.
Yeah, Matthew Fisher just a little bit disappointed with himself with that last delivery. Just dragged it down, and it was helped on its way by the pad, as it turned out, but the bat was somewhere fairly close. So something for him to contemplate during lunch, because that will be the end of his bowling for the morning session. That'll be just this final Kesh Maharaj over. He's trying to do some damage, trying to get his first wicket in the game. And if he could dismiss Tom Wesley, who is on strike in this last 6 balls before they go off for refreshments, then Yorkshire would be buoyed by that.
Well, he won't do it from the first ball, which has been played defensively square on the offside and no run. Heard just time for one more before lunch. Mike Charlton says, just a quick email. Maharaj bowls again to Wesley, all defence, no run, to ask if Aga's suggestion for a nickname for the South African player Zandeki has been mentioned. He suggested all hands, yes, Zandeki I should have said. So all hands on Zandeki would be the nickname there, as this ball is pulled to long on for a single, and Wesley to 79, the score to 192 for 4. 70 runs have now been scored in the session, and Mike says thanks for the excellent coverage as always, Mike erstwhile of Pudsey. And
good old Pudsey.
Yes indeed.
See, it's not Pudsey, it's Pudsey if you look
Pudsey, Jim Laker territory.
If you live up our way, it's Pudsey.
And ball just played a yard or two into the onside, no run.
P-U-T-S-I. That's how the locals pronounce it.
Putsy.
It's like Bradford is Bradford.
As in what's new Pussycat, as Maharaj bowls and defended resolutely by Tenduskarter. Still 192 for 4. If Essex don't lose another wicket before lunch, they will certainly see it as their morning. And it's not that Yorkshire have bowled badly in the least, they bowled very well, as this next delivery just tickled into the onside. A go for a quick single shy to the bowler's end, and Tenduskarter is pretty nifty even at the age of 39 between the stumps, and he can count as well. He's made his ground and starts walking off, which means it's lunch. 193 for 4. Tenduskarter's played very well here so far. He's moved up to 15. In fact, I think it's going to be 194 for 4. They haven't put that latest run up on the board. 79 to Wesley, so 194 for 4 at lunch, with the deficits cut down to an absorbing morning's play. Very slow for the most part, but for good reasons, with Essex determined to try and build a decent first innings lead, and Yorkshire determined to make it as difficult as possible for them. So we look forward to your rejoining us after lunch. I think I'm right in saying they haven't added that final run onto the only board we've got to go by. The main scoreboard has been out of action virtually all morning. I'll be doing a piece into the BBC Essex News in the next couple of minutes, but apart from that, rejoin us again at 1:40 sharpish. Thank you very much.
Don't forget the meeting, the question and answer meeting in the Woodland Group Pavilion Marquee, hosted by John Farrago, will be taking place as soon as possible.
left the field for lunch. Good session for the home side. They've had a further 71 runs this morning. The loss of just one wicket. That was Rishi Patel, who was caught by Will Trail at the bottom, and Matthew Fisher for 35 runs scored for 169. Ryan Penderstart, Essex captain, not out 14. Tom Wesley batting really well at the Essex number 3. He's not out 79. Yorkshire still lead by 15, but on 6 wickets pretty quickly. 190 feet for
Good afternoon, Nick. It's been a good morning for Essex. They've lost just the 1 wicket in the session and have moved on from their overnight 122 for 3 up to 194 for 4. Tom Wesley has batted throughout the morning. He's just added 27 in that time against some very accurate Yorkshire bowling, but he's a season's best 79 not out. With him, Brian Tenduskarter on 15 not out. Tenduskarter's looked in good form this morning to date. Rishi Patel, the one man to go after putting on 68 with Wesley. He was caught by Frayne at mid-wicket off Matt Fisher for 35. But Essex in a good position, 194 for 4, just 14 runs behind.